Hello, hello! Welcome back into my kitchen. I'm Erica. I'm so glad you're here. If we haven't met before, I am a person who cooks things on the internet. In 2018, I went to culinary school and started working as a personal chef, which is a fancy way of saying that I meal prepped professionally. As always, you read the title of the video, so you know what we're getting into today are my meal prep pantry staples. I have some pantry staples that I always keep on hand for cooking in general, but there are a few things that I specifically like to have on hand for meal prep. There are a lot of things that just don't work for meal prep. I've talked about that in a previous video that I'll put up here somewhere, but there are also a lot of things that work great for meal prep, and a lot of those things happen to be pantry staples in my home. Today's video is gonna be a quickie, but it's an important one, so I hope you'll stick around. All right, let's get into my meal prep pantry staples. Now, I have a little bit of a New York City living situation here where I don't have a true pantry. I just have a couple of drawers, cabinets, nooks and crannies that I pop things into, and that is what I'm calling my pantry today. This is my larder, my dried goods, the things that I like to keep on hand. Let's start with a very important category, and that is grains. I like to have a large variety, things like rice, quinoa, millet, oats. We'll get back to the oats a little bit later. Farro is also great. It's one of my favorites. I just ran through mine. I just love having plain grains, plain Jane grains. I just love having them around plain, prepped, ready to be microwaved, ready to act as the base for some sort of nourish bowl, something like that. I also love to have them around for grain salads, where I'll mix in some veggies, herbs, a little bit of dressing, and that serves as a really hearty item that I can pop into my fridge and pull out later in the week. Finally, all of the grains that I pulled out of my cabinet today are amazing for porridge. If you are limiting your morning porridge to an oatmeal situation, then you're limiting yourself. Expand your horizons, make a rice porridge, make a millet porridge. Okay, moving right along to what I think of as the grains companion item, and that is beans. I like to have beans of multiple varieties on hand for meal prep purposes, and that is because a lot of things you can make with beans just hold up amazingly for meal prep. Things like a bean salad. A bean also works great in a grain salad as a protein addition. That is something you'll often find me meal prepping. That works well for canned beans, but I also like to stock dried beans. Dried beans just work great for a stewed bean situation. The final type of bean that I like to keep on hand in my pantry are lentils. They cook super quickly, they are protein packed just like any other bean, but because they come together in a snap, they just make a lot of sense for meal prep. If you're juggling a bunch of different things, lentils are something you can get on and off of the stove really quickly, and then you can do everything that I mentioned you could do with beans. So you can make a lentil salad out of a green or French variety, and you can stew up the red ones that I have here. Our next category is sauce and its related items, which we'll talk about momentarily. If you've been here before, then you know that I think sauce is an incredibly important factor of meal prep. I will drop a video all about the way that I use sauce as a hack for my meal preps down below. I like to make them from scratch, but I also like to keep jarred pasta sauces and other types of ready-made sauces on hand just so that I can lighten my meal prep load and use those to make things like stir fries or pasta bakes, things like that, that just come together really quickly and easily but keep super well. I also like to keep the components of homemade pasta sauce on hand because I think that that's just an amazing thing to meal prep. So that would be canned tomatoes, tomato paste, and then I also typically store onions and garlic in my pantry or really just in a little pot on my countertop. along with the sauce items that I like to keep on hand to make pasta sauce, I almost always stock pasta. Moving right along, let's talk a little bit about meal prep breakfast. I mentioned that I love to stock grains and they can be used for porridges. I specifically love to have oats on hand. And then along with those oats, I tend to stock chia seeds and or flax. And these three items put together with a liquid or a yogurt and the flavorings of your choice make for overnight oats, one of my very favorite meal prep breakfasts. The final thing that you can mix into an overnight oat situation is a nut butter. Nut butters are great always, but I love them for meal prep for this specific application where I mix them into my overnight oats. So I almost always have all three of these items as stocked. Our next category of item is a canned fish situation. I typically stock tuna fish, sometimes salmon, sardines are a common one. I love to keep anchovies on hand. That's really just a flavor booster for things like Caesar salad dressing or other dressings. I know that people can be a little squeamish about meal prepping with fish, but if you can get yourself past that, it's perfectly safe. I like to use the tinned fish for things like tuna, salmon salad, but also fish cakes, tuna cakes, salmon cakes. Those are just amazing for meal prep. They hold up really well in the fridge and they're delicious. They're an easy way to pack flavor into your meal prep. Finally, we have our kind of miscellaneous category. These are our flavor boosters. It is nuts, seeds, dried fruit. You get the picture. These are the items that I like to have on hand to chop up and add a lot of flavor with minimal effort to things like grain salads, regular salads, bean salads. These just really up the ante. I would say that it's maybe not the most important thing to have in your pantry, but having a nut or a dried fruit on hand to lend texture and flavor to whatever you're making is always a bonus. Okay, obviously we didn't address things like olive oils, vinegars, spices, but these are all things that of course I stock in my pantry. They're just not that specific to meal prep. If you would like to see exactly what I stock in my pantry in terms of those items, please let me know in a comment below. I would also love to know what else you'd like to see from me. I am definitely exploring the style content over on TikTok, so if you would like to follow along with me there, or if you would like to see me do some of that here in some capacity, please let me know. And I think that that is all from me this week. I hope you have a lovely, well-fed, stocked pantry week ahead.